This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Hello, I am Kimberly McLemore, and welcome to another episode of 360 and Me. Today, I'm going to be doing some storytelling. I'm going to talk to you about my story on domestic violence. For those who don't know, I am an author. I'm an award-winning author, and I have wrote several books. But the one that I want to focus on today, and I'm going to share some excerpts with you and share with you about my journey and the things that I went through being a victim of domestic violence. The book that I won the award by is called Memoir, Deception in the Heart, a real look into domestic violence. And I'm going to be reading, like I said, some excerpts out of this book, and I'm going to just share some things that I've learned along the way, things that I hope that will help any other woman specifically, but also any other man who is being abused daily and don't know what to do, don't know how to get out of the situation. But everything starts with a story. But the one thing I want you guys to all understand is that we do know domestic violence is nothing new. It's the unfortunate part. It happens consistently. Every 9 seconds a woman is being abused, and that is the sad part about domestic violence. But I'm going to just, like I said, talk to you about my particular story. And as we know, the month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so I thought it would be very appropriate to share more of my story if you have not seen or read the book itself. And hopefully, like I said, that I'm capable of being able to help somebody else who's going through currently or has been a victim of domestic violence. The one thing I want you to all understand, though, after even reading excerpts of this book and coming to the end of it and any advice that I give, the key thing you have to realize is that you need to stop calling yourself a victim. That's the most important thing I want you to get out of my stories, is that you are no longer a victim. You are a hero. You have made it. For those who have not made it and they're still struggling with this, we're here. We are your voices of reason. And we want you to have that same voice of reason. That's important, because the one thing you need to realize is that if you're not happy now and you're worried about your kids, you think that that's the only reason why you're staying. It's not a good reason to stay, because at the end of the day, if you are not physically here, you will not be able to take care of anybody. You will not be able to have the life that you deserve. So, again, I'm going to read some excerpts from my book. And for those who are, like I said, currently going through this or have gone through this, and you have questions for me, you're more than welcome to send me an email. You can DM me on this video. Information will be below so that you know how to reach me and find me. But here we go. So I know everybody wants to understand, well, how did you get with this man? What is the purpose? What made you to stay? That's always the number one question that I get. What made you stay? The funny part about it, people, I didn't stay for him. I stayed because I owned my own home. This was my place of residency. And you know what? It was time for him to get out. It was time for me to move on. It was time for me to realize my worth. And a lot of times when people hear that you have been abused, they always assume that the woman has to take the brunt of everything. You know, they always assume that the woman is responsible for every little thing that goes on during the time that they are being victimized. It's not the truth. And you can't always so easily just tell a person what they should be doing. The biggest thing you have to do is you have to support that victim, because we're not in our right minds. When we certainly think about the person that we thought we loved and we cared about, and if you have children, all of that is a factor. Your friends, your family, all of this is a factor. All of this is a part of the decision, because as victims, we actually believe we're protecting you by not saying anything and by not moving forward and by staying sometimes in the situation. But remember, every situation is different. So don't criticize, but learn. Now I'm going to tell you my story. Let's talk a little bit about reflection. Reflection allows you to look into your mind, and once you have a clear vision, you can look into your heart. That's pretty deep. Reflection is an extremely important thing that we all should be doing daily. But when you're in a situation such as abuse, your reflection isn't always the same. You're not seeing things clearly. You only reflect on the things that are happening currently, not the things that are going to happen in the future. You can only deal with what's going on that day, because every day is considered a survival. So I'm going to just start reading, and like I said, I want to discuss some certain things. I'm not going to read the whole chapters. I would love for you to be able to purchase this book and learn from it, and of course, communicating with me. You're more than welcome to do that outside of this video. So here we go. This is the beginning, and I'm reflecting about what really happened, how I met this person, how did we suddenly fall apart. So it was just like yesterday. I can remember falling in love with a man that changed the way I looked at my future forever. Amazing when your heart falls in love, nothing else seems to matter, whether right or wrong. Your eyes stay closed and your mind stays occupied with only pleasures of good. When a man can touch you in a way without taking you there, nothing makes sense at the time, even when things are staring you right in your face. However, we all long to hear the words, "I love you." And when the four-letter word is used, most people do not try to understand it. Words used with such vigor and lust that the meaning becomes obsolete. What do we do to get the word love to become truth? Usually we just close our eyes and we breathe. With each breath comes the dream. Dreaming of love so beautiful, nothing seems impossible until reality steps into the picture. So in chapter 1, like I said, I'm talking about reflection.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit the Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying, or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
Reflection of trying to understand where and how did this happen? How do you become so blind? Why is it so important to be in love? Well, that's a question that all of us try to answer at one point in time in our lives. Everybody wants to be in love. But there's a lot of times that we, especially as women, we will have a tendency to have a blind eye to everything. Our goal in life is to see just the good sometimes and ignore the things that are staring us right in front of our face. Understanding that love, the word love, has so much more meaning than just saying it. And as human beings, we have a tendency to use the word love as if it's just, it's just an everyday thing to do, and not realizing how it does truly affect individuals. Some take it to the extreme. Others don't think of it. It's just, oh, I love you, no big deal. We say that a lot. But when you're in a relationship, love does have a meaning. But when you have a tendency to ignore the realities that are in front of you because you want to be in love, that can also become a problem. And so I am going to continue to move on to chapter 2. Maybe in chapter 2, you start to get some understanding of where the love went, why it did what it did, and the beginning of the reality of who we really are in this relationship. The beginning is where you start. So I think I'm going to try to read a little further in this chapter just so you can kind of get an understanding. I might skip around a little bit because I really want you to understand how this beginning is and the relationship that I had that I thought was clear as night and day, but then all of a sudden it took a twist, it took a turn. So more than 4 years ago, a man came to the door with an innocent smile on his face to greet the new woman of his dreams. A woman so beautiful and elegant that he wanted to make her his wife immediately. Red flag. They go on their first date with such meaningful conversation and plans that no one could possibly believe this was real. However, true or not, these two people could not live without each other. 6 months later, he got down on one knee and asked for her hand in marriage. Such a moving moment. How could she say no? The answer, yes, came out with no fear in the voice, but the heart. As she quickly thought in the back of her head, could she retake this step after being hurt from a previous love that also had deceptive heart? Think about what this says. I'm going to continue. At that point, nothing mattered but to enjoy the moment and let this take its course. Being asked to get married is such a dream come true that suddenly she found herself in a world of fantasy. Knowing you will have a man that will love you forever, a family of your own, and most of all, a commitment that is acceptable in God's eyes, your father's eyes, and your mother's heart. Just in those 2 paragraphs, there was a lot of meaning, but there was also a very quick red flag. That even at that time, you couldn't have told me that I was wrong and that I needed to pay more attention and that I even had that bubble gut feeling that something really wasn't right. If you remember hearing the part there where it says, when he asked her for her hand in marriage, such a moving moment, how could she say no? The answer, yes, came out with no fear in the voice, but the heart. The heart was fearful because if you, like most people, have been through previous relationships, previous marriage, there's always something that carries there. You always can feel that distinctive feeling inside of you. And sometimes we really, really, truly want to ignore that when you feel like you have that, what is it called? The 80-20 thing going on, where 80% of everything is actually being met and the other 20%, you ignore it. The reality is those are the things you shouldn't ignore. When something is truly biting you and you're not balanced, you're not whole, you need to pay attention to those signs. Well, I was paying attention, but just not fully. And as time went on, I realized that something just wasn't right. Even though I felt like, he could have been a great provider. He really cared about me. But there's sometimes the scary part is that when a person can care about you too much, that is actually very scary, to the point where they become a little possessive, a little crazy, and you can see it, but then you're not so sure how to handle it, right? But I'll tell you what, getting married is not the answer. And I am so thankful that I did not go down that path. So I'm going to read another excerpt from this chapter because I think it's important to understand the thought process of what we go through when we're in relationships, and specifically my story. Every day, she looked at her ring, wondering if this is where she wants to be. As the ring sparkled in her face, she started to think about the moment she said yes, and then the fear started to follow. Day after day and night after night, the household that was their serenity becomes the home of the unknown. Many quiet evenings, the two sitting in separate rooms with no conversation, as things continued to change. Problems arose for her, the loss of a job, the constant saga of a failed previous marriage stood before her with such intensity. You could feel the discontent and strength start to fall into the wayside. How could she get through her issues with no real support from him? She feared he would walk away as he became critical and displeased with her, but at the same time telling her he would not leave. She knew what was important. I'm going to stop there. So, in this perfect so-called relationship, there was no thing of perfection. There was things happening. There was things that were starting to arise.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit BMWUSA.com for details.
When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying, or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
And the fear that I had early on was the fear that came to light. Not being able to communicate, not really having a relationship. I had my own personal things going on. There was no support there. The only support that was there is the fact that, hey, I'm in a house, I'm taking care of everything, and that's all that mattered was his feelings. And being displeased was a way that he would show me that by being displeased, he would just not be involved in any way. The communication was completely starting to go to the wayside. And then other things started to show. Other things that no individual should ever have to deal with, no matter what your circumstances are. So we're going to continue on, and I want to talk about chapter 3. But before that, I want to back up just a little bit because there's still some things I really want to talk about, understanding that the beginning and how things kind of started to veer off from having that fairy tale relationship. I'm going to show you how destructive this individual became within a matter of time. And I was watching this and I seen this, and I want to read this chapter, this excerpt from the chapter in chapter 2 called The Beginning. She watched the cycle of self-destruction daily, weekly, monthly, and then suddenly it turned into years. 7 days a week of playing video games, staying out late hours every Saturday night, and then going to church every Sunday with no real purpose in mind. And yes, she did what she always did, console him, to get him by each day, and loved him enough to nurture his mind as she drained what was needed for herself to survive. Doing this kept the peace until the mental and emotional abuse became too much to bear. Each night turned into screaming matches and crying sessions. Sleepless nights and long days become the norm. Many nights she would hesitate to come home. In her mind, work was her only comfort. The people there were kind and forgiving, and the men treated her with respect. There were no apologies and second chances, just common everyday respect. So the journey went from the very high all the way down to the lowest level within a matter of a year, 2 years. Because the relationship only lasted 2.5 years, maybe 3. But it was the worst time frame that I could possibly remember and ever have to go through. And as I seen him crumbling completely inside of himself, it just, like I said, it drained me so much to the point where it just was not worth any of it anymore. The total disrespect of hanging out all night long. When I say playing video games, and the reason why this happened is because he lost his job. Didn't think it was important to do something about it. Oh, the same excuse. Oh, I went out and looked for a job. But hey, you're home all day long. I'm working all day. No respect whatsoever. Couldn't get up and do anything, but made sure that when sure enough, when the weekend came, out the door very easily, had an excuse for everything. But the thing that bothered me the most was, beyond the abusive talk and language and action, was having to get up and go to church every Sunday and pretend as if everything was okay. He was a total Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A monster was being created, and I was the brunt of his monsterism, his actions, his ways. And believe me, when I say enough was enough, enough was enough. Chapter 3, Deception may get you what you want, but it will not keep you. I'm going to read a few excerpts out of this because I think it's important that people understand what deception really means. According to the Webster Dictionary, deception is described as an act of trickery. Trickery has implication of telling a lie in order to escape guilt or to gain an end. The monster, as I called him, lived his life through trickery, always deceiving people into believing that he was such a respectable, responsible, and likable guy. And there was no way he could be portrayed as such a thing. Now just think about what I just said there. Think about what I just read there. Deception. And did you not realize that's how I came up with the name of the book? Memoir, Deception of the Heart. A real look into domestic violence. Yes. His deceptive heart and his deceptive ways was what ruined us. Ruined him and almost ruined me. You can't get up every day and live a lie and don't think that it's going to catch up with you, because it does. And I made sure that as angry and as upset and as unforgiving as I wanted to be, I made sure that I protected myself, my family, and my friends. And I followed what God had gave me in my heart and in my mind, even when I was at my lowest. Because You can't change a leopard. You can't change somebody with spots and think that, hey, if you pull those spots off, they're going to be the person that you want them to be. The biggest thing that I had to remember was that these signs were there, and I had to learn to act appropriately for my safety. So I'm going to read another. I just got to do this. Got to read another excerpt. See, living a lie was his deception. Can you imagine every day of your life being with a man of deception? This was what I endured for several years. The monster would always describe his life as rough, not being able to trust anyone, when the truth was, he was the only one who could not be trusted. You ever find a person who constantly complains about what everybody does? It's everybody else's fault, but not yours. Kind of weird, huh? Well, this is what a deceptive person does. And that monster was above and beyond deceptive, never happy about anything, always had something to whine about. Even like I said, the job thing, that just blew my mind. It's like, how do you suddenly just lose a job? You suddenly can't pay for your bills. You suddenly can't take care of your responsibilities. And then, of course, it's everybody else's fault. And I'll give you a good example. Let me tell you this little quick story before we move on to the next chapter. How is it that you go into a job and, they give you an opportunity to be the man that you want to be. But then you have the audacity to tell those individuals that, you know what, I don't need to be here. I don't like how you're talking to me. I don't want to do this. This was this attitude thing, this deceptive, arrogant attitude that he would carry. The world owed him. He owed nothing. And that is where the failure of him being a man was. But he honestly believed it was my responsibility to uphold everything. See, and a lot of times as women, we have the tendency of wanting to overly nurture our partners. But one thing I've learned, you can't change people. They are who they are. They have to be willing to do the work to change themselves. And the other thing that I've learned is that when a person shows you who they are, believe it. Stop changing yourself to appease to somebody else's scenarios, to somebody else's ways, because that's not love, ladies. That's deception. That's not taking you for who you are. Love shouldn't hurt. Remember this, because I'm going to talk about it again. Okay? And I think I'm going to move on. Chapter 4. Ugh. The monster. If you notice, the whole time I've been talking about this individual, I won't give them the power. I won't use their name because they're not worthy of using their name. Okay? Always realize your worthiness, your power, and your power is you. You don't have to sit down and feel like it's your fault. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you may have seen some signs. You may have realized that some things just weren't right. But when you have a coward around and a person who's corruptive and deceptive all the time, it's hard to outsmart that individual. It really is. You have to definitely dig deep. You have to pay attention to the signs that God has given you, and you have to follow God's lead to get back to being you. So I'm going to read to you chapter 4, The Monster. A monster shows his cowardly ways because they must feel imperious. Daily the monster would wake next to me with a smile on his face. but with the mind of a wicked heart. Day in and day out, the monster could not live normally, as the world was to blame for all that had gone wrong in his life. The painted fear he would lay on people's minds and their hearts were devastating. A man from simple beginnings became a man of hate. As he held onto the hate and discontentment, he pushed away the ones who loved him the most. By walking with his head down and his fists clutched, his anger would show through the pain of others. Think about what I just read. By walking with his head down and his fists clutched, his anger would show through the pain of others. That is because everything that he did, he would put on to somebody else. Can you imagine getting up every single day of your life and trying to figure out how to kill somebody? I mean, think about this for a minute. Every single day, the discontentment, the hate, the rage of wanting to hurt somebody so bad because you can't have it your way. Wow. Eye-opening, scary, disgusting, disrespectful in every way. But these are the things that I had to deal with in that relationship. See, abuse isn't always just about the hand. Yeah, it's a big part of it because it got there. But abuse truly does start with how you treat somebody, the tone in your voice, that communication, the conversation, what you say, how you say it. We don't even realize that we are truly abusive to each other in many ways every single day of our lives. When we get angry with somebody, we all have a tendency to want to cuss them out and call them names, and because we're hurt. We're hurt at that moment. We're disgusted at that moment. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It's about truly engaging in yourself and understanding that being abused is such a bigger piece. It's more about power and control. It's truly about them always being first, not caring about you at all. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this monster in chapter 4. I really do want to read one more, and I'm looking at it saying, there's so much good information.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying. Or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
I'm trying to decide which one of these paragraphs I want to read in the chapter. It almost makes me want to read the whole chapter because it's so good. But I'm going to read one portion about the monster. After everything I had gone through, remember I was talking about the fact how as a person who's been abused, you go through this fact of blaming yourself and everything that happens. And then, of course, a person who's a coward and who wants to be in control, he had to have all the control. And when he realized that I was catching on to his little game and the things that he was doing, the lies about the job, also he knew I was done. We had tried all types of things in order to be able to move forward in this relationship. Even as going as far as having to get counseling, which was a total waste of time. We didn't even last a week in counseling because of his arrogancy, and it's everybody else's fault. But the first day that I was hit was what changed my life forever. It's one thing to talk to me a certain way, but when you have the nerve to want to put your hand on somebody, that's a whole different story, a completely different story. And like I said before, domestic violence isn't anything new, but we all have a story that we have to tell. And so after being hit, everything just went 10 times worse, because at that point he knew I was done. I was already done, and that was the reason why it escalated. He couldn't accept being alone. He couldn't accept responsibility, and it was my fault. I had to take care of him. I couldn't leave him at his lowest point in his life, right? Didn't have a job, didn't have this thing. He did not want those responsibility. It was all up to me. Well, that's not how this works, and that's not how anybody should be treated. So with all the craziness of him abusing me, hitting me that one time, I absolutely was like, that's it. We will no longer be in a relationship. But he haunted me down every day after that incident. After he, was told to leave, and it's usually the first thing too that we do as women, is that we try to protect them by not having them arrested, because as we know, and especially if we're with our black men of color, our own men, it's usually a huge negative scenario for them. Once you're in the system and you're part of the system, it's hard to get out of that system. So we as women, to protect our men, will say, nope, just let him go. I don't want him to come back. That's all we think that we have to do, and that's really not true. Because guess what, ladies? They come back. At one point or another, they're going to find you. I was stalked. He found me every opportunity he could, because he was so angry that I didn't want him anymore, that he said, you know what? I'm going to make her life miserable, a living hell, was the goal. And I knew that. I knew it was coming. I knew the harder that I wanted to defend myself and stand up for myself, the longer I would have to deal with this craziness that he would put me through. But there's one piece I wanted to read that I just, I got to share this. I got to share this again. This is from chapter 4, The Monster. Every day I would ask myself, was this all a dream? And when can I wake up? Everything seemed so surreal. I actually felt like my life was a television movie. But no, it was very real. When I look at a black bald man, I run away, as I vowed to never be with a man that looked like the monster. I remember one day sitting in my car at work looking across the street and noticed a man that resembled the monster. My heart started to race and I got angry within. My first thought was, how and when did this man get out and get a job on a military base? I had to focus. I could feel my heart racing and myself losing complete control. I wanted to walk across that street and knock the hell out of a man I didn't even know. Sad, I know, but this is what my life had become when the man I once loved changed me into a woman scorned, but not into an angry black woman. As the pain of my daily hell creeps in and out of my life, I do not become bitter, but uncertain to what my future is going to look like. I fight these demons in my head because a monster is always lurking around the corner to remind me that it is not over. So, like I said, when you are going through this process of separating, letting go, and you finally realize that nobody has to deal with this, you are worth so much more, that's when the fight really comes in. That's when the real pain starts to show. That's when you have to build and rebuild yourself back up consistently, because it's not going to be easy when a person, like I said, is as desperate as he was, who will continue fight you, whether he's in that home or outside that home, and stalk you down so he can have it his way. That was what I was dealing with. The threats, the constant threats. Oh, I'm going to kill you, and hiring people to try to do these things. I mean, it was incredible to think that somebody could call themselves truly caring and loving you could do such a thing. But it happens every day. We read these stories every day. But you have to be a fighter. You have to be willing to get up and do for you. That's when you hit that point where you know that, like I said, enough is enough. I'm telling you, you're going to know it. You're going to feel it. You just, everything about you just changes in an instant. And believe me, they know it too. Chapter 5. Anger is a natural part of who we are, but it can destroy everything you are. Anger is a part of who we are. We would not be normal if we did not experience anger. But have you ever felt anger so strong that it leads you into an unnatural thoughts? For several years, the anger portrayed to me left me with thoughts I never could have imagined. The monster showed so much anger towards me that I hated him so much I wished he disappeared in the worst ways. When he would put his hands on me or looked at me with those wicked, deceiving eyes, my heart would just drop into my stomach. The fear would build within me, but then my strength would dominate me. When the monster would speak, I would listen, and my thoughts would describe how I was going to escape from this house of hell. I assured myself each day that I would not last forever, and I would make my move soon. So, as humiliating as all of this was, like I said, it's okay to be angry, but at the same time, you have to protect yourself. Protection can mean so many different things for so many different people, because, like I said, domestic abuse is not the same, and nobody's story is the same. And I think the most important part for me was strategy. And, I had to strategize everything in my thought process. I could not let him even know what I was thinking. During the time that we were together, that anger just would build and build, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew it was all coming to a head. So when he hit me, that all just brought back everything that I had encountered in my thought process of how my life was going to become if I had stayed there and had stayed in that environment of such hate and discontent with the individual I knew did not care about me anymore. It wasn't about him caring. He never really cared, and if he had cared, he lost all that very quickly because he was never told no. You ever meet a person that never has been told no, and that you were going to continue to deal with their nonsense and silliness and childishness? Well, I was that person who would not put up with the nonsense. And that, like I said, we all have responsibilities, and that if we're going to be in a relationship, and you have to all stand up on your 2 feet, and you have to do things the right way. But like I said, for him, it was a tough thing. And that's how those monsters. That monster just kept coming and going and coming and going. He was like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I mean, how do you have a conversation 1 second, then 2 seconds later, I don't even know who's sitting in front of me? Literally. It got to that point. That is not the type of relationship that you should be in or ever want to be a part of. Always remember that. Stop feeding the monster with the excuses and sitting there and allowing yourself to boil over in silence. It's not worth it. Remember, you are your own hero. Period. You are the person who deserves more. You're worthy. Reliving the wounds is in chapter 6. This chapter really focuses on everything that I was feeling, how I looked at myself, how much hate that you carry, all the scars after everything that happened. It's hard, but you can't constantly relive those wounds. You have to be able to move on. You have to know your worthiness. You have to realize living in hate is not going to be the right thing. You have to forgive and not forget, but forgive. And not for him, it's for yourself. So I'm sitting here looking at this chapter thinking, I want to read to you. I'm going to read this portion. My afterthoughts are always, how will I know when I look at a man and not think of him as being deceitful? Man plays a role, and I follow like a lost sheep in the night, thinking he will be the next one, the perfect one for me. But he is no different from what I thought I had, but wearing different skin. Is this truly the way I want to look at each man? No, not really, but my spirit, my heart has been shattered. And each day I'm picking up the pieces, trying to make sense of it all, pretending to be all right when really in the back of my mind, everything is driving me crazy. I find myself pushing away from what is or might be real or normal. People say things to you to make you feel good about yourself, and I often wonder if I'm really as beautiful, intelligent, and savvy as what is seen, or can they see the inside of my head and wonder to themselves, she is beyond help? Can they see the true pain in my face and my voice? Do they hear those extra voices? Not sure, but the revealing part is I am still here fighting the good fight. The justice that was promised to me by God is working daily in my life, but I sometimes struggle to get there. Reliving the pain is something everyone goes through as tragedy strikes within their life. However, no one should ever have to be the victim of someone else's hand because of their insecurities. I pray that one day I will wake up from this nightmare called life. You see, we're going back to the same thing of reflection, but also you can't relive the wounds. Reliving those wounds every day makes it very difficult to stay strong. Understand that you don't have to be the victim every day of your life. Know that if a promise has been made for you and you've done your part, you'll be fine. Each day will get better. I promise. And even for me, every day, I don't think about it. I may have triggers because we're human. People will say things or do things that aren't right, and they don't know. This is not something that you sit down and talk about every single day of your life, right? Because you don't want to live in the rearview mirror. You want to be able to continue to move forward, and that's what's important. So that's what I'm going to talk about, being the victim. You don't really want to be the victim all the time. You don't want to be the victim for the rest of your life. And in chapter 7, the only way to win with a toxic person is not to play. Stop victimizing yourself. Stop realizing that everything in your life is based on what happened at that moment in that incident. Because that's not how it really works, people. That's not what really entails who you are.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The the 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy, or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit BMWUSA.com for details.
When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying. Or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
We all go through certain things in life, some worse than others. But you don't have to play the victim card, and don't allow people to constantly call you a victim because you were being victimized during the time that you were going through abuse. And that was for me. I am not abusive. I'm not in abusive situations. I'm no longer a victim. I don't live in that rearview mirror telling me that I'm a victim. So I'm going to read this excerpt from chapter 7, The Victim. I know what it means to be a victim by choice through someone else's hands. When you have been chosen, your life becomes isolated. You no longer have rights or have a voice of your own. As the victimizer leads your every thought and movement to stay in control, once you step out from that control, the victimizer punches, kicks, or insults you to get you back in line. Each day becomes a routine of fear and resentment. Each night is filled with tasteless pleasure and domination. How do you allow yourself to become a victim? Where did all that you believed and loved turn into injustice and shame? I can honestly say I don't remember the day I let my guard down, but I do remember the pain of the past as well as the pain I lived through today. But as a victim, you become weak and lifeless, but always in the survival mode, trying to pretend nothing is wrong and preparing for the worst, carrying your boxing gloves to protect what dignity you have left. What you care about the most is being able to hold on to your innocence, love, and pride at the moment, not your faults and pity because you allowed yourself to lose control. This is the victim card. You don't have to be that victim anymore. I'm sharing with you how I felt during the time I was being victimized. You will get tired of being less. And I was that person who thought that, wow, what happened? So strong, so willing. How could I let this happen to me? Oof. I'd be like, man, is this really how my story is going to end? No, not at all. In chapter 8 is where I focus on the journey of healing. Each day, healing is a challenge. Some days are better than others. Some days you do not want to breathe. You're tired of life and remembering or reliving the pain. Every day you ask yourself, how do you overcome something as hurtful and unacceptable as domestic violence? The reality is, there is no right or wrong answer, but the process or the journey can be revealing. The healing for me has been to tell my story and write about my pain. Being able to help another woman and understand they had the power to live and have purpose. Realizing that one person does not determine your worth. Consciously, you know these things are true, but subconsciously is where you can fail. The wickedness of the devil whispering in your ear, reminding you that your life is useless, can make you suffer many days, months, and years if you have nothing or no one to comfort and protect you. You need to understand that the journey of healing is going to always be a day-to-day process. But that comfort that you need to have, it comes from God. It comes from within, knowing that you are okay, knowing that your life doesn't have to be this way. You can't keep living, like I said, in the rearview mirror. You can't keep wondering why it happened. It did. It's done. You have so much more to live for. You have family, you have friends, you have acquaintances, you have children, you have yourself. That's worth every single day of picking up and restarting your journey consistently and making sure that you live a life of happiness, because that's what you deserve. It is so important to understand your worthiness. And if you ever feel that you're not worthy, please reach out. I want to tell you how to look in that mirror, and I'm going to show you what it's going to take to realize who you really are. When you have fear and you do need someone to truly talk to, you have all these organizations within your community, inside and outside of your community, and nationally. Domestic violence has its own hotline that you can sit down and talk to somebody daily if necessary. There are definitely organizations within your state. I'm here in the state of Virginia. Their laws are very different in every county. But the key is that the big thing that I've learned in this process of being a domestic abuse survivor, which is what I will be stabled as in the system, because your name is there forever. Once you get the police involved, your name is there forever, and that's okay. But the key thing to have the happiness that you want to have is that you have to do your part. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is somebody that is abusing you, the fear that you have at that moment shouldn't last forever. Yeah, it's fearful. They put you through some things that no individual should ever have to deal with. But in order for you to have the freedom that you need to have, you have to do your part. If you're willing to step up and you need to make sure that this person, you go to court, you allow your advocates to be there for you, because there are many advocates out there, but you won't know that unless you get yourself involved the right way. Utilize the legal system. That's what it's there for. And like I said, there's plenty of information about domestic violence that you can research. But if you need immediate help, please call your local domestic violence shelters and make sure that you have the hotline ready and available for yourself, because that's important. In my book, I have a lot of information in chapter 9 on domestic violence statistics. And like I said, the information that is truly helpful, that will give you some insight. Some of the statistics are a little bit older, because when I wrote this book, it was back in I put it out in 2017, but I wrote it 6 years prior. So some of the information has changed a little bit. But when it comes down to the understanding of what domestic violence is about, and when it comes down to emotional, psychological, verbal abuse, what that means, economic abuse, domestic violence in specific populations, all that information is the same. That part's never going to go away. So there's a lot of good things that you can learn about. Like I said, each state has different laws. You need to know those laws. You need to understand what that means for you. There are still some states where the victim has no power, but the victimizer does. You need to understand why that happens and know how to move forward with that. That's important. And I will make sure that you will get to see for the hotline number that you can have nationally. And like I said, if you're local, if you need somebody to talk to, please reach out to me. I will make sure that you get to the appropriate people here in the local community. In chapter 10, I talk a little bit about healing and the new beginning and how every day is a fresh start. You know, we never know what our journey is going to be like. A lot of people ask me, how has it been to date? Are you in relationships and all that good stuff? No, not in relationships. Yes, I do try to date. It's different for me. I see things that I've never seen before, and I probably would have never entailed ever in my life. And so when I decide that I want to be in a relationship or I want to date, I look for things because I pay attention to those triggers. I pay attention to the red flags, as we call them. And for anybody, whether you've been in an abusive situation or not, you should always pay attention to what's in front of you. If you feel like something isn't right, don't move forward with it. Stay to your heart. Always pay attention to what's in your heart. The balancing. If your mind, body, and soul aren't balanced, but you can feel it, you know something isn't right, don't move forward with it. Let it go. At that point, like I said earlier, love should not hurt. And if you are hurting, it's time to walk away before you get down to that path where it could be devastating for you. Like I said, there are many women who didn't have a voice. I am their voice. You are their voice. We are their voices. For those women who didn't make it past being abused, they're not here to talk to us today. They're not here to tell us their stories. But you have an opportunity to do something that's right for you. Being in an abusive situation doesn't have to mean forever. Trying to do what's been done to you, don't do that either. That doesn't help. And like I said earlier, for those who are there as a support system, support with your heart and your love, not with your criticism, because that doesn't help anybody who's been victimized. All you do is allow us to relive what we are trying to walk away from or have walked away from. So I just wanted to give you some pieces and opportunity to hear my story. Some of the things I'm talking about, you're not going to find in the book. And I did that for a reason, because I really wanted to have some opportunity to talk to you about what it means to be a true victim and how it plagues on you in your life. But it doesn't have to be permanent. But like I said, if you are in a domestic abuse situation, please take the time to call the National Hotline. If you're afraid to call the National Hotline, reach out to somebody that you can trust, somebody that will truly help you get through and guide you through this process, because you need to be in safety. And again, I pray that nobody ever has to go through what I went through. Being abused is a horrible, horrible thing. And I know when you look at me, you don't see that. But yeah, I was that victim. But like I said, become your own hero. And for women, become your own shero. Know that your voice is powerful. Know that you are worthy. And that nobody should ever, ever, ever put their hands on you. And vice versa. Don't you ever put your hands on somebody else. Because I'm telling you, it's a price that you will have to pay for life. It's a horrible thing. And just in general, as human beings, we need to be kinder to each other. We need to talk to each other with more dignity and pride and love. And know that the anger that you're carrying, stop taking it out on people. Realize that that anger has got nothing to do with them. It's all about you. If you want to change your ways, you want to have a better life, you want to do better in everything, it's up to you. It's not up to the person that you're with. It's not what it means to be a partner. It's not what it means to be in love and be in relationships. Be prepared. Stop putting the pressure on those that you care and love for. It's one thing to be together and want to go in the same direction, but you have to have two heads are better than one. You have to have that same thought process. It can't be, well, you're going to give it to me all and the rest of it doesn't matter. Doesn't work that way. like I said, do for you, be a better person. And like I said, if you are in an abusive situation, please reach out to the domestic violence hotline. But I hope that my story helps you realize that you can be more than what you think that you are or who you are. And know that you don't have to be the victim forever. And don't allow people to continue to call you a survivor, because you're above and beyond surviving. You're thriving. And again, my name is Kimberly McLemore. The book again is Memoir, Deception of the Heart, A Real Look into Domestic Violence. You can purchase this book anywhere. Amazon. If you want a copy of this book with my signature, just reach out to me. I'll have the information below where you can actually get a signed copy. And then if you would like to speak to me, you can set up a private session as well to talk to me, and I can help you get through all of this, because you deserve to be loved. You deserve for somebody to care. And again, I do thank you for listening to my storytelling right here on 360andMe. Until next time, take care.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit BMWUSA.com for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.